Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about time fillers. We all have time fillers. These are those few extra minutes that we have each day, whether they are when we're standing in line, waiting for recess, or waiting for our specials to start. Maybe they're when we're standing in line before dismissal. Maybe it's those few extra minutes that we have before lunch. Whatever the case is or are, these are the times that we have just a few extra minutes and we need to figure out what we can do. So we're going to talk about this today. The objectives, because I feel like I have to have them each time. Ideas for when we're standing in line, ideas for just any time in general, and then ideas for when you're in the classroom. So let's talk about standing in line first. The first thing that you could do is an activity called 20 questions. And of course, you can also do this in the classroom, but to play 20 questions, what you do is the teacher will start off first by thinking of an idea in their head. So for instance, the teacher might think of a concept such as the fraction 1/4. And then the students will ask yes or no questions such as, is it something we've learned recently? And then the teacher will say yes. And then another student will say, is it related to science? And you would say no. Is it something related to math? Yes. So the students are able to narrow it down based off of their yes and no questions. Now, whether you want to keep it at 20, that's up to you. I typically don't because honestly, it's difficult for me to keep track of how many questions they have asked. So I just kind of allow each student to ask a question, and then after every single student has asked a question, then I say who thinks they know what it is, and I allow all students who think they know what it is raise their hand, and then I just call on a random student or pull a stick and then let them guess. The correct student, whoever I pull the stick for and has correctly guessed, becomes the next student to the next person to think of a concept in their head and begins the next set or the next round of the 20 questions. And typically I try to keep it very concept related. I don't do something like something that's socially related or anything like that. I do keep it concept related. Another thing is the activity or game called Sparkle. It is just like the regular game Sparkle. If you've ever played that before, you use your spelling words, and the students at the beginning of the line will say the first letter. The second student says the second letter of your spelling word, and then you continue doing that all the way down the line. The person at the very end of the letter of the word, then the next student will say sparkle, and then you give a new word, and the next student says the first letter, and so on, and you continue. If a student has an incorrect letter, they move out of the line and go all the way to the end. And then when you get to the end of the line, you go all the way back to the front and continue, just like you would in the circle of the game Sparkle. Another activity that you can do is called Counting Up. The teacher starts this one. It's based off of patterns. So, for instance, if you are in 4th grade, for an example, you may want to do multiples. So the teacher would start by going 4, 8, 12, 16, and then the teacher would stop, and the next student would say the next two numbers. So the student would say 20, 24, and then the next student after that would say 28, 32, and so on. And the goal is for students to, number one, be doing mental math, and number two, for them to be paying attention to patterns. When they get all the way to the end of the line, then it reverses directions. So the very last student also then would say the two numbers and then turn around and say the next two numbers, and then it would go to the person that had just said before them. So you kind of reverse directions instead of going all the way back to the front. Now, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. That's up to you. You can also do this with many things. You do not have to do it with just simply multiples. You could do it with, adding and subtracting. You could do it with fractions. You could do it with decimals. There are so many different things you could do with patterns. You could do, like n plus 1. So it's not simply just basics. You can do it however you want with counting up. The next one is called strike a pose, and this is just more for fun rather than more than being concept based. But strike a pose is where a leader, whether it be the teacher or a student, will call out strike a pose, and then that person will automatically freeze into a pose, and then everybody else in the line will copy that pose, and then that leader who made that pose will walk along the line and choose the student in the line that resembles that pose and resembles a statue, so who is staying still in that pose looking like a statue the best. And then that person then becomes the next leader to strike a pose and pick somebody who looks like it the best. And again, that's just more for fun. It's not an obligation, it's not concept based, but it's just more for fun. However, that one, strike a pose, can get kind of giggly, it can get kind of loud, so you might want to be careful with that one. Anytime, anywhere. So this could be like if you're standing in the library or you're at the assembly, wherever the case may be. Maybe you're standing outside of the lunchroom. So mental jeopardy. Mental jeopardy means you're not actually taking points, but you will give students an answer and it's concept based. So maybe for an example, this week you are studying classification of animals. So you would say to students, a tiger is the answer. So you give the answer, I have a tiger. And then students will ask the question, what is a mammal? So it has to be in the form of a question, just like you would with Jeopardy, and it has to be related to a concept that they are learning. And of course, students can get pretty creative with their questions. And you just choose whichever one is the best one or whatever you want to do in that respect. And then, which doesn't belong? Which doesn't belong means that you can come up with 3 words. So, for instance, you might say fraction, decimal, add-in, percent. And I guess I came up with 4 words. But you can come up with 3 words, 4 words, however many words you want. So you might say fraction, decimal, add-in. And then students say which one does not belong, and then explain why. So in this case, the student will say add-in does not belong because, add-in is a number that is added to another number, whereas fraction and decimals are part of a whole. So that would be an example of an activity that you could do. Another activity that you could do is the opposite of that, and that would be 3 peas in a pod. And what that is the leader or the teacher, whoever, names 3 words, and students have to come up with commonalities. You can choose whether those 3 words can be completely random, such as desk, computer, window, or you can completely make it where it has to be concept based on skills and activities that you are learning in the classroom. So in that case, then it can be something like whale, shark, jellyfish. And then students would say, well, they're all in common because they're all ocean animals. So that is completely at your discretion. Another activity is the old-fashioned common I Spy game. But to put a little twist on it, a little spin on it, kids are most common with I Spy as, oh, I spy something green. But instead, make it content related. So maybe say, I spy something that a dinosaur would eat. Or maybe I spy a purple hexagon. That way it's content related, and students have to kind of look around for using those terminologies, using that terminology. Another thing you could do is you could up the ante with multiple I spies at once. So you could say, give multiple clues for multiple different spies. So for instance, you could say, I spy something a dinosaur will eat, a purple hexagon, and an object that rhymes with floor. So then a student would have to name 3 different items and make it so they have to put them all in the order of the clues that you gave. Another thing that you can do anytime, anywhere is multi-step math, multiple step problems math. You can call out mental math problems. So for instance, depending on your grade level, how you do it, it's up to you, but you could make it simple, like 3 plus 1 minus 1. Or you can make it even more complex by going 4 plus 2 minus 3 times 1 plus 5 plus 2 minus 4. So however you want to do it. If you wanted to, you could write problems on the board depending on where you're at. That may not necessarily be anytime, anywhere. You could also create real life scenarios. So if you're standing outside the cafeteria, for instance, you could say, 28 students go into the cafeteria and, 24 students got 3 oranges each. How many oranges total were there? So creating a real life scenario example where they have to figure out kind of in their head. And I know that one wasn't an example of a multi-step math problem, but that's an example of a mental math problem that has a real life scenario to it. And then another activity could be guess the word. And when I say guess the word, what that means is you can have students kind of, related to content that you've been learning, but only giving 1-word clues. So for instance, if you are studying vertebrates, then students would only give 1-word clues to help them guess the word vertebrae. So they might say reptile, backbone, mammal, stand up. That was 2 words, but that would be my point, is they say different words, 1 word at a time, until somebody guesses that it's vertebrae, or whatever the word may be that you choose. Okay, another activity that you could do for anytime, anywhere is the activity titled Would You Rather? So you could say, would you rather go to Paris, or would you rather go to Australia? And then have students explain. Or would you rather eat pizza, or would you rather eat ice cream? So just simple, choices, and then they have to explain why. The same thing with pick a side, except it's a little bit more debatable. So pick a side. Would you be on the North's side for Civil War, or would you be on the South side for Civil War? And of course, they have to have some background knowledge. Would you rather is more just general based, whereas pick a side is more content based. And then I don't know why this is on there again twice. I'm sorry about that, but guess a word is what we already talked about. And then now let's talk about in the classroom. And in the classroom, you have the board, so you have a little bit more access to things, but you can do math problems, actually do it on the board and have kind of like relay races to those math problems. Another thing that you can do is a thing called math or word strings, where you have a specific number of letters in a word, So for instance, you may say, okay, we're going to only write words with 3 letters, or we're only going to write words with 4 letters or 5. And then the next word that we write, the letter that it ends with is going to be the first letter of the next word. So for instance, if you write the word bat, it ends with a T, so the next word has to start with a T. But it still has to be 3 letters. So we have bat, ends with a T, has to be 3 letters, so the next word would begin with a T. So maybe you would write 10 or tin, whatever the case may be. So you would keep doing that all the way down a string of letters. And then you would go until you could either set a number of words they have to come up with, or keep going and see who gets the most. And then to make it really simple, you could do a silent read, have students just grab a book and silently read around the room. We could always use SSR. You could also do a read aloud where you read to the class. You could have students work on work that's not complete or makeup work. If you have students that don't have any makeup work, they could read silently, or they can do independent work, such as an independent contract. And then one of the things that I do at the end of the day for dismissal is I have always done silent ball. Sometimes it's called mum ball, where students just kind of toss around a Nerf ball from in a circle. They stand in a circle and they just kind of toss it from one student to another across the room. Sometimes, depending, they just toss it to somebody else in the circle. If that person does not catch it, then they are out and they have to go sit down. And that just continues over and over again, and until there's only like one person left. They are not allowed to throw the ball hard. They're not allowed to do snake eyes. But I mean, you can of course make your own rules, but that's just the rules I have. So these were my ideas for the few minutes that you have to fill in your classroom. And if I come up with some more, I will definitely add them. But I wish you luck, and thanks for watching.